Okay, here's the thing. Books are like one of my favorite things in the world. Whether that be a real book, a comic book, even a visual novel, I'd consider that a book. So I'm going to talk every month for this year, hopefully, fingers crossed, about what I've read that month. My goal this year is 90 books. Last year I read 103, so I'm giving myself a little bit of slack. I think I'm going to beat that if this month is the gold standard. If every month goes like this month, I'm going to beat 103 because I read 12 books this month, which is a lot for me. I know it's not a lot for some people. Some people are crazy and they read like 20 books a month. I wish I was as powerful as you. I'm not. But I'm recording this so maybe, you can find some new books or get a perspective on a book you haven't heard about in a long time. Because I'll read anything and everything, pretty much. If it's got words, if it's got characters, I'll read it. So we're just going to jump right in to the very first book I read this year. I read this book literally January 1st, Columbo, The Grassy Knoll by William Harrington. Now, I did a little, very tiny bit of research before I started this, and I don't believe William Harrington ever wrote an episode of the show Columbo, which is a very big surprise because he captured the character very well in this book, in my opinion. The Columbo in this book felt like the Columbo of the show. It felt like Peter Falk in a great way. And it was good. The only problem is these books are very difficult to find these days because I don't think they've ever really been reprinted in the modern era. But if you can find one at a used bookstore, and if you love yourself some Columbo, if you love yourself a good mystery novel, if they're all like this one, I'd say give them a read. They're very good. Very good. Now next, we read Alana, The First Adventure by Tamora Pierce. There you go. Beautiful, beautiful. This is a kind of I don't know what you'd call this, a middle grade, I guess, kind of a book that a almost 30-something man such as myself probably shouldn't be reading in the sense that it's kind of more aimed for children, but I quite liked it. I thought it was good. It's the typical, girl wants to be a knight story, but she can't be a knight because she's a girl. Boo hoo. So she sneaks into Boys Academy, becomes a knight. It's very good. It's got some, nice swordplay, nice bully revenge. Maybe to me it felt a little like trans allegorical because she's, talking about how she wants to be a man and wishes she could do all this stuff all the boys could, and she's always struggling with the fact that, she is girl and not physically as strong as all of them, so she can't keep up. It's good. There's 3 more in this series, and I think then there's like a further series about this character. I don't know exactly. I play it by ear, but good little fantasy book. Nice little, slow into the year. All right, and then I'm also going to warn before we go any farther. I'm horrible at pronouncing things. I'm going to pronounce things very wrong, and I apologize for that, but that's fine. So the next thing we read was Decapitation, Kupikiri Cycle, The Blue Savant, and the Nonsense User by my boy Nisi Oisin, one of my favorite Japanese authors because he's insane. But this was another good mystery novel. I read a lot of mystery novels this month, I'm realizing. But this was good. There's a deserted island, a bunch of savants in different fields. The main character is like the helper to a savant, so he's not a savant. Locked room mystery, if you liked a locked room mystery. Very good. It's got that Nisi Oisin weirdness. This was my 1 5-star read of the year. I really liked this. This was a very good mystery novel. And then right after that, I had a really boring day at work, so I read a really quick ebook, The Bruising of Quilla, I think is how you're supposed to say that. It's probably not going to focus, but that's fine. By Nassim Jamnia. Again, I apologize. I'm horrible with names. This was probably the book I liked the least this year. Sorry. But it's pretty cool. It was really short. I read it in a single day. Nice, like found family. There's a plague. There's some blood magic. Vaguely Middle Eastern, kind of. I don't know. It was good. I didn't hate it. I finished it, obviously. But out of everything else I read this year, it wasn't the best. But I didn't hate it. I did not hate it. Next, We've got Strangulation, Kubishime Romanticist, No Longer Human, Hitoshiki Zerozaki. Another Nishioisen book, the second in this series, following the same main character. This one I thought was a little weaker than the last one, but it's a pretty good mystery. I'd say honestly the mystery itself is more interesting and the twist at the end is better, but the characters I feel like in this one were a lot weaker. But I did like it, obviously. Nishioisen, as always. If you like Nishioisen, I know he's a bit of an acquired taste. He's very strange. Good. And then finally I read the last one of that trilogy, Suspension, Kubitsuri High School, The Nonsense User's Disciple. I actually did not like this one compared to the other two. This one was less of a detective mystery novel than the other two and more of a kind of action book. And it's also very small compared to the other two. It felt more actiony. It felt more, I don't quite know the word I want to use, but it didn't feel as cerebral. I hate to use that word because it sounds like such a stupid buzzword, but it didn't feel nearly as cerebral as the first two. Yeah, that's it. And then I read, after that, this was the chunkiest book I read this year. That's a lie, actually. The second chunkiest book I read this month is The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, the second Wheel of Time book. I read the first one near the end of last year, and I really liked it, so I bought every single other one. So hopefully I will finish the whole series this year. That's my main goal this year, besides reading 90 books, is reading every single Wheel of Time book, even though I have heard they get worse as it goes on, but that's fine. I liked this one a lot. I think I actually liked this one better than the original Wheel of Time. It had a lot more epicness, I guess, epic fantasyness, I guess. There were less POV characters, it felt like, which was good for me. Rand and the boys doing their thing again. If you want a nice, like, I wouldn't even say by the numbers, but a nice grand fantasy, Wheel of Time, I feel like one of the granddaddies of that. Very good for now. Like I said, I've heard they fall off, but we'll see. Then, at the same time I was reading this, I was reading The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simone Jimenez. I'm going to assume that's Jimenez, as an ebook, which was kind of brutal reading two big fantasy novels like that. But I really liked The Spear Cuts. I thought it was interesting. I use this word a lot, I've realized, but it felt very dreamlike in a very good way. It had some LGBT themes, which is like, I don't care either way. That doesn't ruin my opinion of a book, but I'm just warning because some people are weird. It's really not a big focus. It kind of comes out of nowhere, honestly, but it's good. It's a very nice fantasy, very dreamlike. It's a very interesting world. I'd love to see more of what's going on. I'd love a sequel to this to see what happens fully. But it was good. It was good. And then, because I had to give myself a challenge this month, I read Lolita, the infamous Lolita. I'd tell you what Lolita's about, but I don't think I can tell you what Lolita's about on YouTube anymore. But essentially, I'll just say Humbert goes on a road trip that has dire consequences. This book, I don't even know how to feel about this book, honestly. Like, when I finished this book, I felt like I got run over by a truck. Because it's Lolita. It's Lolita. Like, if you know what Lolita is, you know why this book hit me like it did. But I will say, reading this book, the prose in this book are gorgeous. I loved reading this book. I hated understanding what the words meant, if that makes sense. There are so many times I had to put this down and actively be like, why, I hate you so much, Humbert. I hated Humbert so much, but God, are the prose in this book so beautiful, but the subject matter it's Lolita. It's Lolita. I do think it's really good, though. Like, from a literary standpoint, very good. So that hit me like a dump truck. I had to read something light. I had to read something better. Better, that's a bad word, but something, a palate cleanser. So I read Crazy in Poughkeepsie by Daniel Pinkwater, another probably written for someone younger than me kind of book, but this was fun. This was like the perfect little mouthwash after the horrible dentist drilling that was Lolita. A bunch of kids, a weird guru guy that may or may not be a guru, a dog, a whale ghost, a ghost whale, a little road trip. It's silly, it's funny, it feels kind of Dr. Seussy, kind of like it's it's just a fun time, It really is. I think I read it at the perfect time because it probably would have felt too childish to me if I hadn't just got smacked upside the head with Alita and wanted something better. Again, better is the wrong word, something softer. But yeah, Crazy in Poughkeepsie, good slump breaker. And then I read The Perfect Girlfriend after that, going right back to horrible, unreliable narrator BS. I really liked this book. I ate this thing up. Perfect Girlfriend by Karen Hamilton. It's about, well, the perfect girlfriend, obviously, or so she claims. And just like seeing this woman go to these lengths and justify the things that she does or doesn't do to claim her man because she's owed these things. I'm not going to go into detail because I think honestly reading it is better than me explaining it to you. With most, that's how most books are. But like, I don't know. It just felt... She's just such a interesting point of view character because you can almost be like, I understand how a person could trap themselves into this mindset, but the lengths she goes are like so not what a normal person would do, and that's what makes it interesting. It's very good. Again, The Perfect Girlfriend by Karen Hamilton. And then the last book, the 12th book I read this month, the book I literally finished like 5 minutes before I sat down to record this, is A Local Habitation by Sienna Maguire, the second book in the October Day series, a nice gritty noir detective novel about, well, October Day. It's noir, it's urban fantasy, and it's all about the Fae. Like, there's, Fae politics, you can't say thank you. She's like half Fae, half human, so she's kind of an outsider looking in, but she still has magic powers. This one was good. It's been like 2 years since I read the first one, so I can't even tell you what the first one was exactly about. I just know she was a fish for 14 years, and now she's not a fish, so she kind of has to like reintegrate to society, so she doesn't have a cell phone, or like, so she kind of, But this one was good. They were trapped in a like computer manufacturing place for like fairies that were trying to make computers for other fairies, and there's mysterious murders going on. Good. I love me a good urban fantasy, and I love Sienna Maguire. I don't want to use the word pulp because I feel like that's kind of an insult, honestly. But these books are just fun. They're like gourmet potato chips. Like, I don't think this book is bad for you. I think very few books are bad for you, but I feel like this book is just like, it's tasty, and it doesn't fill you, it doesn't fill you, but it does satisfy in a way. Great. All right. That's everything I read in January. I know technically there's also tomorrow, but I can almost guarantee you, even as good of a reader as I am, I'm not going to be able to finish a book tomorrow. But the 2 books I do have to start for February are Death Troopers, the Star Wars zombie novel. I read maybe like 20 pages of it today. It seems interesting. I haven't gotten to any Death Trooper part yet. And then I'm going to read True Grit. I got a bunch of cowboy novels this month for some reason. So yeah, that's it. And I'll see you next month. Also, if you're curious, if somehow you've watched this far and you would like to follow what I read in real time, I have a story graph under the same name as my YouTube, Model 4024. Oh, there's no 8. So yeah, Model 4024 is my story graph. Yeah, follow me if you want to see my reading updates in real time for some reason. But yeah, there you go. I rambled and I raved about books, and I'm sorry this took this long, but hopefully you stuck around. Hopefully I inspired you to pick up a new book in 2025.